Hello, everybody. My name is Derek, and I will be presenting today. Welcome to a summary of the new features in X5. That's what we're going to be going over. Before we get into our presentation, I'm going to go through a few slides here on how our webinar system works. For those of you that are watching a recording of this, of course you won't be able to use these settings that we're going to talk about here quickly. But for those of you that are joining us for this presentation, for the live presentation, we're going to have some chatters here that can answer questions, and it'll be an interactive kind of webinar. So just to go through those slides here quickly, I'm going to update my screen. For setting up your audio, we have two methods. So most of you are going to use the microphone and speaker option that you see right here. There's also a telephone option. If you're finding that the quality of the audio isn't quite right, isn't coming through clear, you can use the telephone option, and when you select that radio button here, you'll get a phone number and an access code to dial. Just bear in mind that that can be a long distance charge for your phone if you're calling into that area code. Next, we have an interface for asking questions. You can ask questions throughout this webinar. We'll also have a question and answer kind of session at the end as well. So to do so, you can expand your GoToMeeting. If it's collapsed into a smaller toolbar, you can expand it by clicking on this little arrow here. And down at the bottom, you can expand the questions area, and you just simply type your question down here at the bottom and hit send, and we'll get back to you with an answer. Just be patient. It may take some time for us to get back to you. We have quite a good sized group here, so we'll get back to you with your questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our agenda of what we're going to cover today. So today we're going to have a look at a brand new library migration tool that will make the migration over to X5 much easier from prior versions. We have a new import default from other plans option, as well as importing PDF documents. We're going to look at some new roof tools. An example of that would be ridge caps and shadow boards. There's some other roof options we're going to take a look at today as well. We have automatic corner boards and coins. We are able to display labels and elevation views for things like doors and windows and cabinets and more. We have several new dimension tools. We have some automatic dimensions for NKBA guidelines, as well as automatic interior dimensions and elevation dimensions. And then we have a new running dimension tool or cumulative dimension tool that we'll have a look at. We can now display door and window casings in plan view, and we can also automatically adjust the frame for doors in a plan view to fit to variable thickness walls. And then we have several new cabinet features we're going to have a look at. We have a brand new progressive ray tracer that we'll talk about, and some new camera controls that are really nice, and some features along those lines as well. We have some new railing options and foundation display options. And then finally, we'll have a look at the new primitive solid for pyramids and some applications for that new tool. I want to bring over our website quickly here. If you're interested in further details, we can go to our drop-down for products and to upgrades. So to have a look at some of the summary features at kind of your convenience, there's little video clips here that you can click on for the various new features. Over on the right here, we have an overview video of the new features of X5. And then we have detailed training videos. If you have SSA, you can log in to take a look at all the detailed training videos for each of the new features. And then we have an expanded list of what's new in X5. If we click on that, it's going to bring us over to the Premier product page. We have some tabs up here. It'll automatically be on the new features list. And this is a detailed list of all the new features that are included in the X5 version. So feel free to have a look at those resources. Now, if you have SSA, I'm going to bring over an example of your digital locker. Right now you can just go ahead and log into your account and download the Premiere X5 beta version. So when you log in, you'll notice that you have a button here, and that's going to switch your digital locker over to the X5 version. That will provide you with a download of the X5 version as well as a product key. Okay. So let's go ahead and launch X5 and take a look at some of these features. So let's update our screen here. So when you first launch X5, one of the first things you'll notice is this nice welcome screen, and there's a handy getting started link on this welcome screen. We're going to click on that, and I'm going to bring over the web page that will bring up. This is a getting started resources page. It's a great area of links to lots of our training resources. So we have tutorials and videos, help manuals, webinars and trainings, support center. So that's a handy way to get access to the various resources. So what we're going to do is we're going to close this down, and we're going to relaunch Chief so that we could take a look at the new library migration tool. So let's go ahead and close Chief. Okay, and when we launch X5, you'll notice the first thing that pops up is this Migrate Library Catalogs dialog, and this gives us the option to bring forward our core catalogs, our bonus catalogs, and our manufacturer catalogs that are currently installed on the prior version. So this is a very quick and easy way to migrate from a prior version of Chief up to the X5 version, and you can pretty well hit the ground running in just minutes to get running in the X5 version with all those existing catalogs that you're using. We're also going to see a default setting here for our user catalogs to migrate over as well. And then once you bring the software up and start working on a plan, it's also going to look out to the web and take a look at your existing catalogs that you're bringing over, check if there's an update to that file, and if there is, it'll download that automatically. If you don't want to update a given catalog, you can refuse that. It is an option, but by default, it's just going to look out there, look for some updates, and update all your catalogs for you. And you can do that in the background while you're working with Chief. That runs in the background. It doesn't take much resources, so feel free to do that. Okay. So the next thing we're going to have a look at here is our import default settings and importing PDFs. So let's go ahead and start a new plan. I'm going to cancel this. We'll start from a blank plan. And we're going to go up to our file and import. And on our import menu here, you'll notice that we have an import default settings. We also have the import PDF option here that we're going to talk about in just a minute. So let's take a look at our default settings. And this brings up a dialog where you need to choose a plan of where you want to bring your defaults from. So let's say you have a plan for a single story construction with a slab on grade, and you want to bring in all your defaults for that type of construction. You can select that plan and start from a blank plan with all those defaults. Now if you're starting with an older plan, let's just say we're selecting this Chief X3 plan. We're going to click open, and it's going to give you a message that the plan we're importing defaults from is an older version plan, so there may be some default settings that didn't exist back then. If that is the case, they're going to use our default settings for X5, which will go in place of that. So we'll go ahead and say yes, and here we have our list of the various import default options. We can either select or deselect whichever ones we would like to, and if we click OK, it's going to bring in all 46 defaults that I selected into our new plan, and here's our blank plan with all those defaults. Okay. So for our PDF import, let's go and get a PDF plan. So here is a couple of PDF documents that I'm going to use it as an example to import into our plans. And note that we can import PDF into either a plan view that we have here, or we can import it into a layout view as well. So why don't we go up here and click on File and do a new layout. And we'll zoom out a little bit so we can see the entire layout page. And we're going to bring back up examples of the PDF. Now we could go up to File and Import. We already saw where that was located in our list, but I like to drag and drop. So we're just going to start with this Plan Notes example. I'm just going to grab it, drag it, and drop it into our plan. And we get this wizard that pops up, and we can preview the pages that we have. Here's page 1 and there's page 2 of our notes, and we can choose what we're importing, the current page, a range of pages, or all pages. We'll go ahead and click all pages and click OK. And once that's brought in, we can grab these individual pages and kind of change those locations on our plans. Now, the first thing you might ask is, well, what happens to the quality of the print image? As long as we're retaining the aspect ratio of the document, it's going to retain the quality of the print as well as the graphics. So let's go in and do a little bit of a zoom in here. Just zoom into this area right here. So you'll notice that the quality of that is 100% basically. Okay. And if we double click on a given PDF import, we have some options here. We can change the aspect ratio. Again, if we do that changing of the aspect ratio, you're going to have some degradation in the quality. We can control the size and position and so on. You can also choose to save this in the plan so that it's not referencing the document where it's saved on your computer. So if you choose to save in plan, that information will carry over with the file. So let's go ahead and close that. And the next thing I'm going to import in is just an example of a detail. So let's bring up our PDF again, and I'm going to drag this into our plan. Okay, so this is just one page. We're going to bring this in and click OK. So again, we can resize this, and we can do it using our edit handles. And as long as we're grabbing this corner edit handle and enlarging that, it's going to maintain the aspect ratio, which means that it's going to maintain that quality. So here we have blown that up quite a bit. And if we do a zoom in again, let's just zoom into this area, you'll notice that we have 100% retention of the quality. Okay. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. So that's our import PDF option, very handy for bringing in our PDF documents. Next, we're going to get into roofs. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And we won't save our layout page. So actually what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this blank plan that we have. We won't save our changes. And I'm going to drag in a new plan just as an example, a basic house here. And I'm going to create a 3D overview of the house. And we'll zoom in a little bit. And here's our roof that we have. I'm going to switch this over to a glass house view. And you'll notice that we don't have any ridge caps in place. So let's toggle back, or perhaps we'll just split the screen here. And in our plan view, I'm going to go over and double click on our roof tools. And you'll notice that we now have a tab for ridge caps. And you'll notice that we don't have one at the moment. So we can go and just click to add a default ridge cap. And let's take a look at what that looks like. And you'll notice that we already have that ridge cap in place. Now we can control ridge caps kind of on a roof plane by roof plane basis, so we can select an edge of a roof cap and specify whether or not it's included there. I'm going to double click on our roof tool again and go to our ridge caps, and let's just go ahead and delete that one, and we'll add a new one from the library. We have a library now of ridge caps. It's in our bonus catalog. Just some examples here. I'll just go ahead and select this one, click OK, and we can specify the height and width. We can also bend it to the roof pitch if we'd like to as well. So I'll go ahead and click OK, and you can see that different type of ridge cap there. So nice addition for roofs. The next thing we're going to have a look at is our shadow boards. So if we go back into that dialog box, I should have just left that open, we now have a shadow boards tab. So you'll notice that we don't have a shadow board on there right now. So let's go ahead and add a new one. And we're going to go into the Chief Architect library, into moldings. And let's go into our base. See if I can find an appropriate one. That looks about right. I'll click OK. I'll go ahead and stick with its standard dimensions here. We can do a vertical offset if we'd like to, and as well as a horizontal. And we can specify whether we're doing it on the eave and gable, eave only or gable only. So let's go ahead and do that on eave and gable, and we'll click OK. And since we have our automatic build roof on, we can now see that here. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. You can see that shadow board has now been added. Okay. Alright, so a couple of other changes that we've made for roofs is the ability to specify framing on a roof plane by roof plane basis. So I'm going to go ahead and close that camera view down, and we'll expand our plan view. We'll fit that to window. Okay. So for framing, let's go up and change our layer set here. I'm just going to go into our framing set, and we've already have some roof framing here. Now the new X5 version has the ability to select individual roof planes and specify the default framing for the individual roof plane. So just for example here, let's say perhaps instead of a 24-inch on center framing on this area, we'd like to make it 16-inch on center. So what we can do is select these individual roof planes. What I'll do is actually group select those. So I'll hold the Control key down and pick up that one and open it up. And this is saying that I'm modifying a roof plane, so we'll need to turn off our automatic rebuild of roofs. And now that that's off, I get our dialog box here, and we can go into the framing. And let's go into spacing for these two roof planes, and let's change it to 16-inch on center. We can really change all the parameters for our framing on this, but in this example, we'll just change it to 16-inch, and we'll click OK. And since I have my automatic framing checked, we'll notice that I've instantly got my change over to our 16-inch on center framing for those two roof planes. So that's very handy and allows us to do a lot less individual framing work when we have varying framing for different roofs. Next thing I'll show, let's go back into our default set. Now on an individual roof plane basis, I'm going to just double click on this on our roof plane here, and we're going to go into the Polyline tab. And in the Polyline tab, we have a couple of new things here. We're representing the overall framing area of this roof plane that we've selected. We have a projected area and a roof surface area. The difference being that the roof surface area is the polyline as you see it in plan view. The projected area is the actual area of the roof taking into account the pitch. So that's really the square footage that you're after in terms of your materials, so you can get that number on a roof plane by roof plane basis. And then the same idea here for overhang area. We have an overhang area and a projected overhang area taking into account the pitch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and we'll cancel that. Now, the next thing we're going to take a look at is a dormer. So let's go up to our roof tool and let's select, we'll just put down a floating dormer. I'm going to come down here and we're just going to add a dormer in quickly. And let's go ahead and double click on that dormer and open it up. And over here we'll see we have a new control for eave overhang and gable overhang. So let's just change our eaves, say, to 12. And we'll click OK. So you'll notice that our eaves here changed over to a 12-inch overhang. So that's handy for dormers having control over that. Okay, so I think we covered all the changes for our roof. Next, we're going to deal with our new feature for automatic corner boards and coins. So let's go over here and delete this dormer. We don't really need it. So I'll just select on that. And we'll hit delete. And we have an active camera view here, so I'm just going to click on that camera view to open it up. That's a saved camera. And we'll notice that we don't have any corner boards on this particular house. And the new feature that we have under our trim tools, so I'm going to split our screen here so we can see both of our views. We'll highlight our plan view and we'll get into our trim options. And the new tool for automatic corner boards, automatic coins, we can select various defaults for those. Let's just double click on our automatic corner boards. You'll notice that we have those corner boards automatically added for us. I'm just going to rotate this view around a little bit. You'll notice that we are missing a corner board on our inside corner. We can control that in our defaults, whether it's going to include corner boards there. So let's take a quick look at that. We'll open up our defaults for corner trim. This is brand new. Corner boards include inside corners. Of course, we can specify our defaults for what is automatically placed. We'll click OK. Done. And when we go up to our trim tools again and do our automatic corner boards, now we're going to get our inside corners. So that'll save a lot of time. An additional menu item has been added under Edit and under Delete Objects for corner boards down here. So we can select a single room, all floors, what have you. We'll just go ahead and delete those. And done. So you'll notice those are now gone. So that's a handy feature. Next thing we're going to take a look at is our new label features that we have. So let's get started on that. So let's close the plans that we have here, and I'm going to bring over, drag and drop over a kitchen plan here. I'm going to have a look at labels and elevation views. Of course, you'll notice we have cabinet labels in plan view, and as well as schedule labels. We've always had that, but we've added the ability to display labels in elevation views. So I'm just going to draw a quick elevation view of this wall right here. I'll just drag it. So right away you'll notice that we have these cabinet labels that show up. This is the case for cabinets, doors, windows, and so on. We have the ability to turn off individual items. So if we wanted to display labels on these items here, we can do so. If we wanted to turn off a label for just an individual cabinet, we have the ability to do that on an item basis. We just go into the label tab, suppress the label, and click OK, and it will remove the label for that individual cabinet. I'll undo that. Now if we toggle back into our plan view and we drop down a schedule, so I'm going to go to Tools, Schedules for Cabinets, And I'm just going to drop that cabinet off here to the side, or the schedule off to the side. And we're going to reactivate our elevation camera. So now you'll notice that the schedule labels are showing up in this elevation view rather than the cabinet labels. So let's go ahead and close that. And just very quickly, we have some windows on this side. You'll notice that we get our window labels as well. And if we toggle back and we go up to our tools, schedules for windows and drop one of those in as well, just drop that off to the side. And we'll activate that camera view again. And again, we'll see our schedule label showing up in that view. So very handy. All right. So let's go ahead and close that view. And I think we can stick with the plan that we're using here. The next feature I'd like to show you that's new is the ability to automatically create call-out labels in your plans. This is a great feature for increasing efficiency and quickly organizing and calling out different sections on your plan. So what we'll do is start with an elevation view. I'm going to go up top, and let's just pull a simple wall elevation of this north wall here. And with that wall elevation up, I'm going to split the screen so we can see these side by side. I'll zoom out a little bit here. Now, this is the camera that we would like to change into a callout label. So what we'll do is just open that camera up. So I've selected it here, and we'll go down and click to open that up. And the first thing I want to do is click to save this, because this is a camera view that I do want to save, seeing I'm going to create a call out from this. And in our new tab here for plan display, we've got display as call out option. And then for the call out, we have different ways to show that, whether it's a center, left side, right side, or both sides, and perhaps a section cut. And then we can give the name of the label here. Let's just call this N wall for north wall. And we'll just put in perhaps page 5. Okay. We can change the call-out size if we need to. We can change whether there's a call-out arrow and the size of that and whether it's filled or not. And let's go into the label tab here, and we're going to suppress the label for that camera because we're going to use the call-out instead. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now we see that we have this call out automatically created for that north wall. You'll notice that the arrow here is not filled in. That's because I still have this camera open. When we close that camera, that's a good way to indicate whether you have that camera currently open. If we close that, that's going to fill that based on our fill style, and we can change those, of course, if we need to. So there's our north wall. Now I just want to show you quickly some of the other options that are available here. And we're going to create a elevation view right here. And let's split our screen like we did before. And with this elevation, we're going to select that and open it up. And similar to our others, we're going to go in and choose to save that. And in our plan display, we'll display it as a call out. And let's do that call out on both sides. And with that elevation view, we have that new feature we saw previously where we can clip it to the side. So instead of picking up all this additional information that's on this, we're going to clip this to the sides. And then we'll go in and we're going to suppress the label as well and click OK. And then what we want to do is we're going to clip that. So I'm just going to bring this elevation view in so we could see it a little bit better. So again, we're getting all this additional information here. We're really just interested in this area here. So now we can go over to our plan view and we'll click on these callouts, and since we chose to clip it to the side, we can bring that over and line that up with our wall there, so that clips that nicely. And I'll just pan down so we can pull this call out down as well. And we'll clip that right to that wall so we get that nice clip section view right there. And we'll go ahead and click OK. We can close that. And there, I'll expand my view. And there we have our callouts. Okay, so next thing we're going to have a look at is going through the new dimension tools that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and close this for us. We don't need to save it. So I think we can just use this plan to show our new dimension tools. So I'm going to go up to our edit and delete objects. Let's just clear out these dimensions. So we'll check for manual and automatic dimensions to delete those. So we have kind of a clean slate here and click done. And if we go to our automatic dimension tool button, we'll see that we have some new tools here. One is for auto interior dimensions that pick up our interior area, so it will kind of dimension drywall to drywall. And there are defaults where we can choose to locate objects like windows and doors and so on. We have an automatic dimension tool for our NKBA standards, an auto elevation dimension tool, and an NKBA standards for auto elevation as well. So if we click on our auto interior dimensions, we'll need to turn on the layer, so say yes to that. So there's our automatic interior dimensions that come up, and of course we can adjust these just like we adjust our other automatic dimensions and add and remove dimensions on a case-by-case basis. So let's go ahead and undo that. So we're back to a clean slate. And for NKBA dimensions to work, we need to have a room set up because it's going to look for rooms labeled as either kitchens or bathrooms for it to dimension those. So if we click on this area and say that this is in fact under the General tab, a kitchen, the NKBA dimension is going to look at that and it's going to dimension based on that. So let's get to our automatic dimensions and click NKBA, and we'll turn on that layer. So now we get those automatic NKBA dimensions. It's picking up the center of our appliances and so on. So very big time saver, a great tool for getting our plans dimensioned just in a fraction of a second, really. And of course, these, just like our other dimensions, are editable, and we can add or remove dimensions on a case-by-case basis. Okay, so let's take a look at a elevation view quickly here. And we're going to pull up a elevation here of this wall. We'll zoom out a little bit. So let's go up to our automatic. And here we have, now they're active, our automatic elevation dimensions. We can do this for wall elevations, exterior elevations. And then we have an automatic NKBA elevation tool for those standards. Let's go ahead and just click that for NKBA, and we get the recommended 3 levels of our dimensions. And again, we can adjust the dimensions that are automatically placed here. Add new ones if we need to pick up new locations, or delete locations if they're not necessary. So again, a very big time saver for dimensioning elevation views. Okay, so we're going to start a new plan. Let's go ahead and close this elevation view. We don't need to save the camera. We'll go ahead and close this plan view, and we don't need to save that either. And we'll start with another plan here. The last dimension tool I wanted to show here is for running or cumulative dimensions. So I just want to bring an example up here. We currently have a dimension tool under our dimension tool button here for doing a baseline dimension. And I'm just going to click this and drag it across to show you how that works. So basically, for framing purposes, a lot of times you'll do these baseline dimensions, and I'm just going to highlight these and drag them up. So you can see that on your plan, this can take up a fair bit of space to get these baseline dimensions coming out, and depending on what you have inside your plan, it can start to get cluttered. The new dimension tool that we have here is for our running dimensions or cumulative dimensions, and if we use that tool, I'm just going to do a quick line across, you're going to get the same information as our baseline dimensions, but in a fair bit cleaner of a look here. So this will run your dimensions and kind of accumulate those as they go over our plan. And of course we can pick up window openings and walls or whatever it is that we need to do. But the point is, I think, is that it can clean up your plan if you prefer to see it that way. We see a lot of manufacturer, home builders, and builders that are kind of speccing out wall panels to be built using these kinds of dimensions, and they're certainly handy and definitely good for cleaning up your dimensions on your plan. Okay, so let's close that plan down. We don't need to save it. We're going to have a look at some of the door and window improvements that we've made in X5. I'm just going to zoom in here to this window. And you'll notice that in a plan view, we can now see our interior and exterior casing. And we can also dimension to that more easily. And if we open up our layer display options and hit C for casing, we'll scroll down. We have independent control of the display of exterior and interior casing. So we'll go ahead and shut those layers off and click OK. So that no longer displays in our plan view. Let's double click and open that window. We'll see a couple of other changes that have been made here. For our lintel and sill, we've now separated those so that you can adjust them separately for both interior and exterior. And then under our sash and frame, we have the ability to fit frame to wall automatically. So if we change the thickness of a wall, it'll allow you to automatically change that frame. A handy feature. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that plan. Don't need to save it. And we're going to move on to our cabinet section next. We'll pull over this new kitchen plan to have a look at some of the cabinet tools. And I'm going to get up here and we're going to create a perspective floor overview, or our dollhouse view. We'll rotate that around and zoom in a little bit so we can see what we're looking at here. So in previous versions, to create a cabinet, an example of a cabinet like this right here, where you have a different door style on the top versus the bottom, you really need to create two cabinets in order to get that condition. With the new software, you're able to do that in a single cabinet. Another addition along those similar lines is the ability to add multiple appliances to a given cabinet. So in the case where perhaps we're going to add a wall oven here, you have the ability to add a warming drawer to the same cabinet and not do that by adding additional cabinets in place. So let's have a look at how that would work. So over on this side, we have just one single cabinet. You can see when I highlight that it highlights the entire cabinet. We're going to double click on it to open it up for specification. And if we click on the front, that will bring us to the front tab. And we're going to add a new item to this cabinet. And the new item is going to be a double door. So we can choose from our list here. We'll want that to be a double door and click OK. And that cabinet I want to appear, it's a 15-inch cabinet, I want that to or a 15-inch door, I want that to appear at the top. So we'll just go ahead and move that up so that it's at the top. And then we can go in with that area selected, we can specify either an appliance or a door or drawer style. So let's go into our library. And of course, we get a warning saying that it's intended for different door styles that we recommend using the door and drawer style tab if you're not using multiple doors or drawers for a given cabinet. So in other words, if you're looking to make a global change, you should go into your defaults. This is intended for a case-by-case basis. So we'll click OK. Of course, we can suppress that message if we want to. And let's just go into the Chief core catalogs for door and drawer, rectangular, framed, and we'll just do a glass panel door that's going to match our others. Click OK. And then we see there's a material mismatch, but we all know how we can quickly change that. Go to our eyedropper tool, pull up this material, and just add it to our door. And then our glass is a bit of a mismatch, so let's pull up this glass and add it over here. So that's how we can handle multiple door styles on a single cabinet. And the next thing we're going to do is get into adding multiple appliances. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's select this wall cabinet, open it up for specification. And we'd like to add an appliance in this area for the wall cabinet. So I'll just select that. And we're going to go in and change that from a door to an appliance. And let's go in and specify that appliance. So I'll click Library. And I'm just going to search wall oven. And let's see, we'll select the Chef Series wall oven. That looks okay. And the next thing we want to do is add a warming drawer down here. So with that area selected, let's change the item type again to an appliance. Go into the library, and we'll look for a warming drawer. Here's a Chef Series warming drawer. We'll click OK. And we get that preview of what that looks like. That looks just about exactly what I was after. And click OK again, and that will update in our 3D view. So very handy to be able to put multiple appliances in a given cabinet, as well as multiple door and drawer styles for a given cabinet. The next thing I wanted to show, I'm going to rotate my view a little bit here, is the ability to do a false drawer. This particular plan that I'm in doesn't have a sink base like may require for the feature I'm going to show, which is a double false drawer for a sink base. So I'll just show you how that works. I'll just pull this cabinet right here. We'll open it up for specification, and you'll notice at the top here we already have selected that option for a false double drawer. That way you can accurately reflect that in your plans. Okay, I think we covered what we need to in the cabinet section, and the next thing we're going to get into is ray tracing, so let's have a look at that. So there's several new things about the new ray tracer that we've added in. Number one is progressive ray tracing, and number two, overall faster performance. Number three is the a simplified interface and process in the Ray Trace Wizard, so things have been simplified and easier to run through. I'm going to bring up an image here for you. I'm just going to slide this over. We'll just expand that a little bit. So with progressive ray tracing, this is an example of the progressive ray trace after 1 minute of processing. So what happens is, in previously with Chief, when you were running a ray trace, the image would start to build from either the center, or if you specified for the edges, it would start to build kind of blocks and build out and complete that image. The way that it works now is that it runs through a pass, its first pass, and you see the initial results. So this ray trace is after one pass, and it took just 1 minute to create this initial pass. So you can kind of see the progress or the progression of your ray trace improving over time. And you can choose to stop the ray trace at any point in time, or you could specify an amount of time or amount of samples that you'd like to do, if you know typically how many samples you like in terms of the quality. So here's after 1 minute. I'm going to run through some slides. The next slide that you see here is after 5 minutes of ray tracing. So you can see a big improvement in terms of the quality, and this does include photon mapping in this ray trace. And we'll do another one. This is after 30 minutes of ray trace time, so we're really starting to see a nice sharp crisp image. Our reflections are cleaning up, and we'll do one more. This is after 1 hour of ray trace time. So, and this is where we ended up stopping with the ray trace for this given image. So it's great to be able to see. You can just watch it ray trace over time. If you're satisfied with the image, you can stop it and save it out. If you'd like to have it run some more, you can. And if you want to put in a lot of times or sample numbers, you can do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And let's just launch our ray trace wizard here on this plan. So similar to X4 that we have this wizard, but the wizard has been simplified. You can do indoor or outdoor. We've just have a quick and a high quality setting here. We've simplified this some. If we click next, we get to specify what our image size is. We do now allow you to specify in inches, pixels per inch. And then we also allow units versus pixels here as well to allow you to specify an actual size in units rather than just pixels. So we'll go ahead and click next again. We can still specify our what the conditions are and whether or not we're using focal blur. And we'll go ahead and finish here. And then let's go ahead and just click edit. So we've gone through our simplified wizard to get our settings on this particular ray trace, and we can click to edit. And under here, this is where we have our limit for ray tracing. You can put no limit, so it'll just continue to ray trace, and refine the image over time with no limit until you actually stop it. And then of course we can go in and specify the time or the number of passes that you'd like to do. Let's see, under our lighting tab, we have the ability to do our sky model. We'll talk about that a little bit in just a minute. And under our advanced, we still have the ability to do our photon mapping as well as depth of field. Alright. Go ahead and cancel that. So the next thing I think we'll want to take a look at here is some of our camera views. So let's go ahead and start that. I'm going to close this camera view and we'll go ahead and close that plan as well. Start with a new plan. I'll drag over another example of a kitchen. And we're going to have a look at some of our new camera options that we have. So one of the things that we've done is with our camera views, there happens to be a saved camera in this plan right here. And if I open up that camera and I make an edit, or not really an edit I guess, but a move of that camera. So this is a saved render view that we like, but if we want to examine something and we actually move that camera somewhat, and then we go to close that camera, and in the prior versions when I close that camera it would save the new location of the camera. So if you spend a lot of time figuring out a good vantage point or a particular camera angle and you forget to resave it again, you're going to lose that original camera. So now we ask you and prompt you, would you like to save the camera? Since you've changed its view, you can either say yes or no. So I'll say no to that, and it preserved where that camera was located. If I said yes to that, it would save in the new location. So that's a handy feature there. The next thing that we have is for our dollhouse view, we have the ability to display floors below. So let's have a look at that. So the plan that we're working in here has a second story. Let's just click up here and you'll notice that we have a second story with an open below condition. And if we go into our dollhouse view now, this perspective floor overview, we now have the ability to show floors below. In the past, when you did a second floor dollhouse view, you weren't able to show those floors below. So now it's really nice to be able to look at stairs and open below areas and be able to see the full scope of that project. Now that setting, if you're looking to turn that on or off, is found in the camera control default. So if we double click on our camera button, the option here is to show lower floors in floor overviews. If you deselect that, that will be as it was in prior versions. If you have that selected, it will display those lower floors. Okay. I'm going to bring over a sample video walkthrough with our new walkthrough tools, and let's let you have a look at that play in its entirety here, and then after it's gone through and played, we'll kind of talk about what some of the things that are new that are happening in terms of this video. So we're just going to go over and walk up the stairs here. It's a pretty short video. Okay, so we'll play that again, and I'm going to pause. So right here we're going to start to pan the camera and also tilt the camera up at the same time. This is a new feature in adjusting from a keyframe. We'll show you how that works in just a minute. So watch for this kind of turning, panning to the left and looking up at the same time. There it is, to take a peek at that custom ceiling structure we have up there. And we're panning to the left. Next, we're going to speed up our walking. So we're walking faster over to the stairs, a new feature of being able to walk up the stairs in the video. And then we're going to tilt the camera down and pan to the right at the same time to look down that open below. So that's an idea of the cameras, the new options for the video walkthrough, I should say. Let's go down a level here. And we're going to go into our 3D and walkthroughs and select this new tool for create a camera walkthrough. We'll zoom out a little bit here. And I'm just going to do a pretty simple camera. We'll just drag and drop this camera. Do another one over here, and then finally, if we snap to that stair, it's going to recognize that stair, and it automatically links up, adds another keyframe to the top of the stairs, and if we go up there, we can grab that and continue our walkthrough path. Okay. Now, if we double click or open up this, we're going to see some of these new features. So in the General tab, we now see the 3 keyframes that we've created, and we can add new keyframes to our timeline as we need to. And for each of those keyframes, we have these various specifications. So if we go into our keyframe number 2, the time, total time in video that it takes to go from that keyframe to keyframe 2 is 10.5 seconds roughly. This is our control for the speed in feet per second. This is our control for a camera angle, and then our tilt angle, and then our height as well. And down below for our walkthrough options, we have the ability to specify whether our camera angles are relative to the path or absolute angles based on the grid, as well as our camera heights being either relative to a floor or terrain or an absolute value. So those are some of the new features, great new features for walkthrough tools that will help improve your walkthroughs. I'll go ahead and cancel that. So the next thing we're going to take a look at is some new clipping tools for cameras. Let's go ahead and show you how those work. We're going to need to create an elevation view for our next feature. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to go down a level, and we're going to choose our elevation tool. We'll just do a simple elevation view of this wall. And let's toggle our screen so that we can see our elevation view and our plan view at the same time. We'll reorient that and zoom in a little bit. So the new feature when we select that and open it is right here for clipping to side. So you're able to clip that view to its sides. Click OK, and we can either expand or contract that view. And when we pull that in, you'll notice over here in our elevation view that you'll see that change. Okay, so that's a handy new feature. Next, let's take a look at our automatic isometric views that we've put in. I'm going to close that view and we'll expand this one. And let's generate an isometric view. Perhaps we'll just do this orthographic full overview or dollhouse view. And if we go over into our 3D options, this is the location of our isometric view, the new category for that. And we can do all these standard orthographic views. So top, back, left view, standard. We'll do another isometric view, say bottom, back, left, so that shows the bottom side. So you get the idea on that. That's a handy new feature that's been added. I'm going to close this plan and view. Let's go ahead and close that, and we'll close, and we don't need to save that plan. And we're going to start with a new plan over here. Here is a sample plan that we've seen earlier, just for the purposes of showing the next feature, which is the ability to change the color when you're overlaying a line drawing on a watercolor view. So I'm going to click on this camera to activate the camera. And we're going to go up here and switch our view over to a watercolor view. And I'm going to click on this Technique Options dialog. And this is where we've got this new color option here. So let's select the line drawing on top of the watercolor. And then we can click on the color and use our standard color chooser. We'll just pull this up here, kind of give a purplish hue to that, and we'll lighten that color a little bit. So that looks fine. We can also use our eyedropper tool to select that color. We'll click OK and click OK again, and it's going to render. You see the processing down at the bottom, and that's 100% complete. So now you get the idea of that color option when you overlay a line drawing on top of a watercolor. Okay, so next thing I want to show you quickly in our menu under our 3D options is the ability to add a generated sky model. So this is a new area right here under our backdrop options. We can select to use a generated sky model rather than a backdrop, and we have a haze level of low, medium, or high. And then we have a horizon level where we can control where that horizon is, and you can see when I slide that, it raises or lowers that horizon level. So that's a new option that you can have fun with. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you a couple of examples here. This is a sample render view using our backdrops. And here is a sample render view using our generated sky model. So this kind of automatically generates that horizon for your perspective and 3D views. It's handy. Okay, moving right along. Next, we're going to take a look at some of the new foundation options that we have. So let's go ahead and close these views down. We'll close that view as well. And we don't need to save that camera. So the foundation things we're going to look at are controlling the display of cutouts for cutouts and foundations for doors and windows, and then a footing offset. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to close this plan, and we'll start with a new plan of a garage. So the first feature that we've added is for cutouts. If we go down a level here, we'll see that we display the cutout for that door, the garage door, in our foundation below. And if we open up that door for specification, we have the ability to not show that in plan. We'll go ahead and click OK and go down a level so you don't see that any longer. The next thing that we did is an offset. We're going to turn off our automatic foundations. And under our foundation tab, we have the ability now to do a footing offset. So I'm going to put a value of a -4 in there. And that's going to move that footing that's now centered over this wall over 4 inches. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice that footing here has adjusted for us. So that's a handy feature for better display of footings in our plan views. Don't need to save that. I'm going to open up a new plan here and we'll take a look at some of the new railing changes we've made. I'm going to go up a level. We happen to have a railing here that we can deal with. I'm just going to double click on that railing and open it up for specification. And you'll notice 2 new tabs here. We have a Rail Style tab and then a Rails General tab. So this will look familiar. That existed as the railing tab prior. And you'll notice on here a new addition for raising the bottom rail / panel and being able to specify a distance there. So in the past, we were either able to raise that where it automatically raised it to 4 inches or not. Now we can actually specify the height of that bottom rail. You can get a little more accurate there. And under the new Rails tab, we can go in and specify a profile for a top, middle, and bottom rail as well as a beam. And then under that, we have the ability to adjust the width, height, of that individual railing. So nice additions there to our railing options and get into a lot more detail. Alright, we'll go ahead and close that plan. For the final feature, we're going to start with a new plan. And the last feature is a new primitive solid that we have. And you'll find that under our primitive solid tools right here, and that's for a pyramid. I'll just drop a pyramid down so you can see what that looks like. There we go. And we'll select that pyramid. Just move it over into the center. So with our pyramid tool, there's lots of options for changing the look and shape of the pyramid. We'll double click on that and open it up. So in the specification, we can specify a given height for the pyramid. Let's change that to perhaps 100 inches. And then we have the ability to truncate that pyramid as well. So let's truncate that maybe at 75. And some other options that we have here are its axis and whether we're rotating that. We could also change the number of sides of the pyramid. What the radius would be. So I'll go ahead and click OK to show you that truncated pyramid here, and we can get into a 3D view. We'll just do an overview of that. You get the idea of what a truncated pyramid would look like versus a standard pyramid. And perhaps we'll just show changing the number of sides. Click OK. So a heck of a lot of options that you can get into with that new pyramid tool. Bring up a couple of examples here. This is a coffee table that has a truncated pyramid to create the legs. We'll take a look at that sample plan that we had prior. We've used truncated pyramids here to create these posts as well. So that should come in real handy. Okay, I think we've gotten through all the features we have time to cover today. We won't save that plan. So I'd like to touch on a few things before we wrap up here with our presentation. first of all, if we go to the website, our website chiefarchitect.com, and hover over products and go down to the upgrades / SSA renewal, you will see a summary list of features in X5, the new features. So we give kind of some text here, and then there's a video snippet for a summary. That's similar, some overlap of what we covered today that you'll see on our website if you want to take a look at that again. And over on the right down here we have a what's new expanded list of features in X5. So we have this broken out by category, 3D rendering and visualization. We have an expand all and collapse all. So if you do an expand all, that's going to expand all the categories below, and when you scroll down that, it'll expand each and every category. This is a very detailed list of every new feature that's included in X5, so you can refer to that. Under our user center and under training videos, we have a great resource for SSA members or the Support and Software Assurance. We have a video playlist here for videos introduced in X5. So these are actually a detailed training video. What we covered today is more of a summary overview of new features. These are detailed training videos. There's 39 of them in here. So if you have the SSA, you can get access to those training videos to quickly get you up to speed on all the new features that are in X5. Okay, so we'll move that over. And I'm going to update my screen here. So I had mentioned the Support and Software Assurance, a few things that you get with that. Priority tech support, many of you are already aware of this. All the access to the online training videos that we have. Downloading premium catalogs, and we do update those catalogs as well. And it includes new version releases. So if you have SSA now, you can just log into your digital locker and you will see a button in there to update your digital lockers so that it will show the new X5 version, so you can download and install and start using that right away. SSA also includes discounts on training seminars that we put on and discounts on additional licenses as well. Okay. So for those of you that are attending this live class, we will continue to have a question and answer session for the next few minutes. We'll wrap up with all those questions. And if you're watching this as a recording, obviously you won't have access to that, but you can send in any questions you might have through the chat on the GoToMeeting system. And I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I want to thank everybody for attending. I had a lot of fun going through all the new features, the summary features in X5, and hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. You can give a call toll free at 800-482-4433, or you can call us at 208-292-3400. You can also email us at sales@chiefarchitect.com. So again, thanks everybody. I'm going to sign off. We'll wrap up with any questions you may have, and we will hope to see you in another one of our demos soon. Thank you.